Welcome to everyone just joining us. We were
Getting
just
ourselves
hearing
settled.
Kyle's amazing Australian accent, but we will spare all of you that right now.
Good day.
Yeah,
That's all you get, just a taste so far.
I wish I could do an accent. Mine's so bad.
Oh no.
I can't
What's your
even admit
go-to,
it.
Lauren?
I can't do any. I would just embarrass
Dun, dun,
myself.
dun. We've got your resident Australian here though. That's
Pretty
great.
one-dimensional is my problem. If I try to do
Mm.
anything else, it just reverts back to Aussie.
Wait.
I love that. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We've got a great group in here already. So I think we're going to get started, maybe let another couple of folks roll in here. But welcome everyone. We are so excited. We're a jolly group, as you can tell. I'm Rebecca. I'm the manager of institutional relations here at EF Gap Year, and it's been a real joy for me to also be spearheading our webinar series. So I know most of you have already tuned in to at least one or two of our other webinars. So big thanks to you all for joining us again tonight, taking the time out of your schedules. I am someone who is super passionate about gap years, and this all started when I took my own gap year 10 years ago now, which is crazy. But nothing makes me more excited than working with a fantastic team of awesome colleagues who are also really passionate about helping students find the right path for them. And that's who I'm getting to present to you today. So today I get to introduce you to our panel of experts. It's these wonderful gap year consultants who help all of you craft your itineraries and make your gap years possible. So they're going to tell you a little bit about themselves and why they're so excited to be working with all of you. We'll spend about 20-25 minutes with me asking them a few questions to sort of get to know them a little bit. They're going to give you some great wisdom, some great advice and tips about the whole GAP process. And then we're going to move into the Q&A session, which is what I'm really excited about, because this is the chance for you to ask anything, big, small, silly, weird, exciting, really anything you want. You can pop those questions right in that Q&A box anytime throughout the session. Can't wait to see what you're all wondering about. So feel free to throw in right now maybe your biggest question about a gap year. You know, why did you come here tonight? What is it that you really want to get out of it? Just so we'll have some things to start off with when we start talking. Before we do get started, a couple things I wanted to address right now. Looking at what's happening in the world right now, in the gap world specifically, taking a gap right now means thinking even harder about the world around us and what makes sense to do from a health and safety perspective. So for us at EF Gap Year, we've been planning for every possible future we can imagine. Our number one goal is to give students a safe and a healthy global experience. So we're working with our teams across the globe to make all necessary modifications to itineraries and safety protocols and contingency plans as we plan for our programs that start in the fall. So our organization, we have offices in schools in 114 countries, has this incredible global infrastructure to stay up to date with what's going on across the globe, as well as to enact all the necessary precautions. I also want to quickly address the current situation in the US and around the globe revolving around the Black Lives Matter movement and how it fits in with our work. We recognize that we here at EF and the GAP industry as a whole must do better to be more inclusive, and we are actively involved in both education and action on this important issue within EF, within our work as a member of the Gap Year Association, and within this whole Gap Year realm as a whole. So I just wanted to address those really quickly as we begin, because they certainly affect all of us as individuals right now in different ways, and they also affect your gap year decisions. So we're happy to answer any other questions you might have on those topics during our Q&A session. But I want to get rolling now and introduce you to our three amazing panelists here. So we have Lauren, we have Kyle, we have Natalia, or Nat. So I would love for each of you to introduce yourself quickly and say why you're so passionate about helping students take a gap year. Anyone want to be the brave first volunteer?
Lauren.
Go first. Oh,
All
right.
Lauren has been nominated.
I love talking. So I guess a little bit about me is I've been with the Gap Year team for about a year now. And I think a reason why I really love helping students through this journey is this is something that I was considering. Not really. My mom brought it up one time. She's like, do you want to take a gap year? And I was like, nope, I want to do everything like everybody else. But at the end of the day, I just didn't have information at the tip of my fingers about different gap year programs. And it's so cool working with students based on their goals and their interests, creating the perfect itinerary for them, more or less, and seeing them kind of grow throughout the program, just seeing how they virtually change, and being able, like a resource, just to be like a gap year Google for them. as Rebecca said, no question too big or too small.
Love that. Thanks, Lauren. And you also had an amazing experience with EF in college as well. And that kind of, I think, got you started on your travel journey, right?
Most definitely. About, what year is it now? 4 years ago, I actually went on a month-long trip with EF through Europe. That was my first time there. And it was probably the best experience I've ever had. 1 month went by, it felt like 3 days. And I'm still in touch with a ton of these people from my program. And about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, we actually celebrated 2 years of a girl's wedding anniversary who was on my trip, which is awesome.
That's so cool.
That's really cool. I think those bonds that you form while traveling are some of the strongest. That's awesome. All right, who's next? Nat?
I'm Natalia, or Nat. I know the TH throws people off sometimes, so I just say Nat for short. And I'm passionate about this because I never got to take a gap year either, and I'm super jealous that I get to work with students who do have the ability to go travel around the world. And I know that with the little traveling that I've done, I've been able to grow a lot, become more mature, confident, and independent. So it's really incredible seeing these students that I get to work with, like before their gap and after, and how independent and mature they become afterwards.
Fantastic. I think that must mean that I'm up now. All right, awesome. So my name's Kyle. I am a Boston area local. Grew up here. Found EF, led me through that, and I think I wanted not to take up too much time here, but I think two kind of windows into my story that might be helpful is my own gap year experience, and then a little bit of insight into my work with EF too. So I was a student that actually took a gap year after my freshman year in college, which, yeah, it is a thing. And some people don't realize that or don't think about that oftentimes. But for me, I was a student that went to college, and I had a lot of different interests. I loved sports growing up. I loved music. I really liked learning just new things in general. So I was excited to see what university would bring for me. And I think, to be honest, I was like a lot of students that had a pretty challenging freshman year, just being really far away from home, dealing with just life changes back at home in my personal life as well, and then trying to adapt to a changing scene and figure out my academics on top of that. So I got to a point where I was looking for a way to challenge myself in a new way and step outside of my comfort zone and really do something, I think, completely outside of the box too. So I had never traveled internationally before that. And the idea somehow crept into my head to start looking into something that would push me in a new direction. So I actually ended up taking a gap semester, and I went to South America, to Chile mostly, and spent some time there, which for me, it was one of the biggest experiences that I've had in my life. It was really transformational because it allowed me to think more about what things were important to me, what direction I wanted to be going, not only in that semester, but definitely moving forward in my own life. And being able to do that in a new environment, new people, engage and learn Spanish, which I had a little bit of background from high school, but had never really dug into very much. It'll at the end of that, I came home and I just felt, I really felt like a new person. I felt like I had a much stronger direction. So I ended up going back to school, did well academically, and had a lot more success and clarity there. And because of that experience, it actually led me to working with young people afterwards. So after graduating college, I worked with mostly middle and high school students for around 6 years, doing a variety of different academic, recreational, social, emotional programs, because I knew that the type of support that I think I wish that I would have had more of growing up. So it was important for me to be able to dive into that with a lot of different young people in the community that I was in. And that's also what led me to EF. So I've been with EF for around 2.5 years now. I've actually worked with teachers that are working to plan programs for their students within high school and middle schools. Specifically, I was working with teachers in the Cincinnati, Ohio area. So got to know some of them really well. And I've got to see a lot of just what EF is. I've been able to travel. My first experience of traveling to Europe was with EF. I'm super fortunate for that. Was able to see some of the leadership programming that we actually ran for high school students there, which included, there were some amazing keynote speakers. In the past, it's been Jane Goodall and bunch of amazing people that aren't coming to my brain right now, but I think seeing the power that, those leaders had on students, and just seeing how excited students are, ultimately I've jumped into this role with our gap year team, and continue to be able to have those type of conversations with our students. And for me, the best part is knowing that our students are intentionally raising their hand to ask a difficult question, which is, what's the right path for me, right? I think all of us struggle with that, probably at multiple points in our lives. Of course, this, college gap year age is one of the first big ones where we have more autonomy and more decision-making power over. So I just give kudos to any student that's thinking more intentionally about what they're actually looking for. What type of experience is going to help them to grow, gain new skills, challenge themselves, and help become the best version of themselves, whether that's, a gap year, semester, experience, week, month, whatever country it is. Being able to step outside of your comfort zone is where really all growth and all change happens. So I think that's just a few of the long list of why I'm passionate about this and really care about it and love being able to work with our students on that.
Thanks so much, Kyle. And apologies to everybody. My internet cut out, one of the perks of working from home. But I'm back now on my hotspot, so should be good for now. Thank you so much. And one thing that really resonated with what you said, Kyle, was, being with students who are thinking a little bit outside the box and who are already really motivated to, think critically about themselves and their place in the world. And I think that's one of my favorite things about being in this realm too, is that everybody we talk to has a different story and a different reason how they've ended up with us, but they all are people that are just thinking really hard about who they are and where they want to go, and not just following the path that's been set out for them because it's easy. They're challenging themselves. So I guess that kind of actually rolls into the next question that I want to ask you guys, which is, what parts of the EF Gap Year program are you the most passionate about? And I kind of answered it for myself right there, but this could be a place, a module, the kinds of conversations you have, anything like that.
I'd be happy to start again. I love talking. And I know the team that I work with every day hears this all the time. I think for me, it's more of a place than anything, is especially lately with our new program, but I'm obsessed with Costa Rica. I was actually there at the beginning of when COVID happened. I think it's the most amazing destination, and it's almost like a Disneyland or a Disney World, but for like 18-year-olds and up. It's kind of encompassing of everything I think you'd want to get out of gap year destination. Is that it's so different than most places in the US, is that it's tropical rainforest, but it's filled with adventure like zip lining and whitewater rafting. Our service projects are really amazing, whether it's working in after school programs helping teach English or working with sea turtle conservation. And overall, I think the best part, and what I love talking about students, is just the local community. Is a big part about taking a gap or planning a gap is figuring out where you see yourself on the gap program, which can be kind of hard. And I think when it comes to Costa Rica, it's so, in my opinion, is I haven't taken Spanish in 6 years. Every local made me feel like family within the first 20 minutes I was there. They wanted to practice my Spanish. They were excited to hear about my personal story. And I didn't feel like a tourist, even though I was only there for a week. I really felt like I could live like the locals do. And it's such a good place for students to really step outside their comfort zone, because it's so warm and welcoming. It just has so much to offer.
I love that. Thanks, Lauren. Kyle, Nat?
I can go. That's awesome, Lauren. Lauren is the one that we talk about anytime anyone says anything about Costa Rica. We're always like, hey, Lauren, we're talking about Costa Rica.
And we ask her to text them her sloth picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
She has a great picture she took of a sloth. Sorry, Nat, go ahead.
No, you're fine. My favorite part about the EF Gap Year is really how customizable the program is, because the student gets the option to tell us hey, this is what I'm interested in. These are the places that I would like to go. These are my passions, and we get to really design the year based off of them. So it's not just a curated trip that tons of students have done. It's really individual to each of those students and their passions. I think that's what really stands out with our program.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Kyle?
Great answer. So I think about this all the time, actually. I think that I would have a much different answer when I was like 18, 19, when I did my own gap, because I had never traveled. I didn't really know what any of these places were or what they were like or what the right place to go is. So I think something that I like is being able to learn so much from the rest of our team. I mean, we have, our schools, our service directors that are in, all of the countries that we run our program, that like they just are so genuinely passionate about helping our students learn more about the work that they're doing or to learn the language in the city that they're in. So I love being able to hear stories from our alumni. I love being able to hear stories from our school directors, from our service directors, and from our field directors on our service programs as well, about some of those moments that happen, right? When you're on a beach in Costa Rica and, it's been a day where you're trying to, different conservation around helping sea turtles in the area. And maybe it's a day where there haven't been a lot of turtles that have made themselves available, but it's a day that the group had an amazing conversation about why they all chose to take this path in life. And hearing some of those stories that come out from our groups and the moments that happen along the way, that's my favorite part now. And I think that I just love hearing about all the different varieties of the way that happens throughout the whole year.
I think too is we recently did our wrap up for the year and semester students that just previously traveled with us. And you can hear a lot about the program before you go, what you can do, and hear all your options. But then when you see students on the other end and just hearing about these like one-off stories that like you can't really plan for on a gap, they just naturally happen with these people who could be so different from you that you weren't really sure if you were going to make friends or not. And then you go on the program and you're like, wow, these are my people. I'm sharing this incredible journey with them. And life just like happens. You don't feel like, I don't know, it's kind of a weird experience, but if anybody watches our alumni videos, you can really hear about these students' experiences that is so different than you would get from a year at college.
It's a great point, Lauren. It's fun for us because we get to speak with students early on, and then we start to know, oh, wow, I think these two might become friends. And then they're going to probably meet on their service and get to know each other quite well. But it is, I mean, you guys, we've all had our own travel experiences. Usually when you ask someone what's their favorite thing about travel, one of the first, it's usually in like the one or the first two answers is, oh, all the people that I met. And it's kind of like where you went is almost second or third or fourth down the list. It's always the people and what they gave to you, which it's pretty cool that that's so consistent across the board. Do you guys agree?
Oh, 100%.
Totally.
It's right up there with trying new foods. It's like new people, new foods.
Don't
new
forget
people,
that
new
one.
foods, and stories of getting lost, I think. Yeah, the top three. No, but I still keep in touch with my GAP cohort, even from 10 years ago. Like we just had a Zoom catch up and everybody's all in different places across the US, across the world, actually. And, those bonds really last, and it's pretty incredible to see.
And
it's amazing to have that network.
Yeah. They're so different than every other bond that you make. Is like, it's a shared experience that, I don't know. Rebecca, I'm sure you could talk about that a little bit more of like why your gap year cohort is so close.
Yeah, I remember talking about it at the time with them and saying, oh, we're kind of like the Breakfast Club. Maybe that's an outdated reference, but we're all very different. We wouldn't have been friends in high school necessarily, and then we get to this space and we're all having this experience together of figuring. Sometimes some of a gap experience is really hard, and you're figuring out how to navigate new situations, speak different languages, do all of these different things, and you really become close through that. And you're each other's support group, and you have these memories and these bonds that really can't be formed in another way, I don't think. So I love that. And I also love that I think I grew as a person because I was exposed to people who were different from my friends in high school, for example. Like I grew up down in Alabama. I had a very insular group of people that I was with when I was in high school, and getting to go on a gap with a bunch of people from across the US gave me, I had a friend from Alaska. I'd never met anyone from Alaska before. A friend from an island off the coast of Seattle, like people from all of these random places where I would never have met them in high school or up until that point in my life. So it was really a cool experience to be able to bond with them and get to know people in different ways. Yeah. Okay, I have one last question for you all. I don't want to talk all night about my gap because I could, which is, what is the best piece of advice you would give to anybody who's thinking about a gap?
Let Natalia go first. She needs her
Yes.
time to shine.
Oh, wow, that's shocking. I think my advice, I heard a lot of like the alumni in the last panels that we had just say be open to these new adventures and these new opportunities, because you're going to be seeing the world outside of your bubble. So just really be open to it, say yes more, and you'll totally end up with a new perspective after.
Couldn't say it better. Kyle?
I would say ask yourself questions about what's important to you. Ask yourself why, if college is your number one on your list, why is that? What do you want to get out of college? I think, we're at a time right now where fortunately there's a lot of amazing options for students graduating from high school fortunately, unfortunately, the last few months have really shown us the power of technology to be able to connect people. But of course, at the end of the day, there's no substitute for living it and experiencing it and touching it, feeling it, breathing it. So whatever you choose, whether it's gap, college, online, whatever else, just think intentionally about what's important to you. What are the type of experiences that you want to gain? What's the direction that you're looking to move? And it doesn't have to be forever, right? It's just be curious about exploring new things. And one good step leads to the next good step. And before you know it, you're walking down the trail. So try to use a corny metaphor there, but hopefully it makes sense.
I feel like I should get that on a plaque and put it in my room or in the kitchen or something to feel inspired every day. I guess for me is my biggest piece of advice is find comfort via discomfort. Is being immersed in new cultures can be really hard, but it's also really fun and exciting. And I think it branches off of what Nat and Kyle said is say yes, because you're going to learn so much more about the world, but also yourself. And every time you step outside your comfort zone gets smaller in a way. We actually had a student, Annabelle, and she was like, I don't even know what discomfort is anymore. And I think it gives students this really unique opportunity to really learn who they are and who they're meant to be. I know for me, it's the first time I traveled internationally. I'm not recommending this to any student, but I was like, I'm going to totally step outside my comfort zone. I'm going to go bungee jumping. I'm going to go zip lining. I'm going to go whitewater rafting. I'm going to go skydiving. Like, I was like, I want to do something so different because I've been in this little bubble. Now I know I'm confirmed, have a fear of heights. Won't be doing that again anytime soon. But when I told like friends and family that that's something I would do, they're like, we don't even know who you are anymore. But they meant that in the best way possible. Is I found a new part of myself that I was willing to explore that I never would have done if I just stayed at home in the traditional path.
I couldn't say it any better. That is excellent advice from all of you. And I think it's just important to really think, like Kyle said, about the decision right now. We're in a really interesting space in the world, and I think taking a gap can expand your comfort zone and also, bring you closer and to a more hands-on level with a lot of the global issues that we're grappling with right now. So really thinking about your role as an individual and then your role in relation to other people, in all of these different parts of the world you see is an experience that then you can bring back to your hometown, to your family, to your friends, to your community. One thing I love about a gap is that it doesn't just stay with you. It really becomes a part of your life that you share with everybody around you. And so that's just one thing I think about a student's return is, they have so many amazing stories and reflection and different perspectives on the world that they bring back to everyone. So that's one thing I guess to think about now. You get to go on this experience and then come back and bring it all home with you. So those were the questions I wanted to ask all of you. You're so reflective. I'm so lucky to get to work with all of you every day. But I wanted to know what questions you all have. I think there was a question that disappeared when my internet cut out. There were a couple questions in there. So if anybody can see that first one on there.
I have a question in here that said, how does this program help students balance their collegiate studies with their quest of becoming globally competent?
Rebecca, that's got your name all over it.
I love that question. That is something we think about a lot, and something, especially in my role, I think about because I work closely with high school counselors, college counselors, college admissions officers, people in that higher ed realm. And I also used to work in higher ed. So this is something I'm really passionate about. I think we see a lot of things here. One of the goals of our program's educational philosophy is actually college readiness and life readiness. So our goal is to prepare students with the skills they're going to need to be successful on campus. So what we actually see is throughout the program, students are gaining independence. At the beginning of the program, they're starting off living with host families, having a great support network there. By the end of the program, they're in an internship, living alone, learning how to buy their own food and cook their own meals, how to commute that 9-to-5 life. They're learning how to gain those real world skills that they need to be successful in college and beyond. They're also gaining more maturity. There's a lot of data to back up the fact that students who enter college after taking a gap are better leaders. They hold more leadership positions on campus. They have higher GPAs, which I think is an incredible statistic too. They actually graduate faster than students who go straight from high school to college. So there's a lot of statistical evidence to back up the fact that taking a gap actually makes that transition to college better. So that's like the data. And then I can also say from my personal experience, I really can't imagine having gone to college straight from high school without taking a gap. I gained so much better perspective, especially going into a field that is international. I wouldn't have been able to talk feeling like I had any authority in my classes. I think I would have been a lot shyer on a personal level. Like all of these both hard and soft skills that I gained on a gap made me more successful in college. And I truly can't imagine what it would have looked like without that. But I think no matter what field you're going into, you're going to come to college better prepared, or ready for everything that a college campus has to offer. You're especially thinking today, you know, college is a big investment, right? So every student needs to go to college. We support that. Our students do go to college right after our program, but it's a substantial monetary investment and an emotional investment. So you want to be able to maximize your potential from the moment you set foot on campus. And that's what a gap really prepares you to do.
And I think another skill that I really see in both you and Kyle from taking a gap year is that you're more culturally aware and literate, is that you're able to look at the world, I think, in a totally different light than a lot of people who have never traveled and really truly immerse themselves. And it's not something, I think that's something that other people really recognize in you after taking a gap year, is it comes so naturally to both of you because you've already lived and breathed it. But being able to work with somebody or with people who come from all different corners of the globe, I think it really shows that your kind of like flexibility and adaptability to work with people of all different backgrounds, and just understanding the world better.
I totally hear that. And I think you're right. I can directly trace the fact that I've lived a lot of different places and I've been in a lot of different environments, and pretty much anywhere I go, I feel fine. Like I feel very comfortable and confident. And I think that comes from being thrown into this gap year world where I'm so outside of my comfort zone that now pretty much whatever I do, I'm like, all right, I'm ready for this. It's going to be fine. And that's kind of an attitude that I directly attribute to that gap.
Very nice of you to say that, Lauren. I think,
You're welcome.
you know, empathy and communication are empathy and communication are super important in any setting that you work with people, which is what our world is, no matter what you do for work, for business, for your life. So being able to understand people that you don't know and recognize that you don't fully understand how people grew up and how they live and what is important to them. Once you get a little taste of that, you realize that, wow, there's a lot more to the world that I don't know. And I think usually makes students more naturally curious. So I think that's part of what you were saying, Rebecca, is students do tend to perform well in school. And that natural curiosity is, you know, ask any professor, you know, academic advisor, that's a huge indicator of students' success, you know, in college and beyond too.
Yeah, and I think you touched on another part of our educational philosophy, which is this growth mindset. which is the idea that when students find something that they're really interested in and really passionate about, they're going to be driven to learn and driven to succeed. And that's something that I think really happens when you're having this experiential learning, that it's a bit hard to replicate on a screen, to be honest. You're not actually talking to people there. You're not actually working hands-on or smelling the smells or feeling the feels. So yeah, that's something that I really am excited about, to see students gaining a passion on their gap and then that being translated into a college career and beyond. We've got a few other questions rolling in. So there's one in the chat box here, which I love this question. I think you all will have some great insight here. How does the program help those who have insecurities about themselves when around others?
Yeah,
That's
I'll
a really
take the
great
first
question.
swing at it.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is an important question. I think just my own story, I was someone that felt super insecure in a lot of ways. It's part of why I took a gap in the first place. And I think trends that we see in speaking with students and thinking about a lot of students that I've worked with is there can be a lot of pressure in going to college to perform, to conform, to be accepted, to make new friends, to fit into whatever that culture is on campus. So what's probably the most unique part in that regard with the gap year is there isn't a set culture for the group. So every student is creating the culture because they're bringing themselves to the program. And we're traveling to new places where, our students, we don't know the norms of what life is like in Costa Rica. We don't know what day-to-day is like in Italy. And if we're living with a host, we're getting to know that family and understanding what their values are and how we live with them too. So the baseline for what is accepted or what is expected as a student is drastically different than what it might be in a college campus. So everyone comes in on more of a level playing field. And I think it gives a lot of our students the voice to be able to speak up. And even, if that's slowly, because I think every student has their own questions when they're starting off. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? Traveling the world is not an easy thing to do, but I think we feel excitement about it because students can come in on the same level and start to make those connections and a fresh start.
Yeah, I think it's all about taking a step back and realizing that nobody else knows each other. You guys are all feeling the same exact way. I know that even when I'm put in a different situation, I just have to have myself step back and just think if I'm feeling this, someone else must be feeling this way too. And we can already bond off of feeling that way together.
I think too is traveling, whether it's a gap year or any extended amount of time, is a chance for you to start writing your own personal story. Is similar to what Kyle was saying, is that you kind of have been put in this position, is you've been compared to a ton of people through sports or high school academics, clubs, whatever it is. And sometimes you don't really know who you are and what you're passionate about yet. And it becomes super stressful. But traveling and creating your own gap experience allows you to grow into the person you're meant to be, figuring out what you're passionate about. And I think just giving you a better understanding of who you are, and that things that the more you learn about yourself, the less insecure you're going to be, is you're trying new things and stepping outside your comfort zone. And kind of, as I mentioned earlier, it's kind of like a trial and error almost abroad. If you're I don't know if I like this, I'm not sure, at least I'm just going to try it. I know for me, it's I used to be super non-committal, couldn't make a decision. And with traveling and just having this experience behind me, you're able to make more decisive decisions just based on what you're passionate about. That just comes with that experience of whether it's traveling or taking a full gap year.
I love all of those answers.
It's a great answer.
To
Can I add
echo-
one more thing, Lauren?
Yeah.
I love that response. I think just the last piece of this is insecurity. The counter to that is confidence, right? Which is a core principle that we have. So how do you develop confidence? You do it by having attainable, measurable goals or successes throughout whatever experience you're in. So when you get to the airport and you have to check in by yourself and make sure that you get on the right plane, that's a win. That's a great start. And all of our students do that. And they have somebody that they can reach out to and call if they have a question or need some help along the way, or they're with their tour director, with their group. When you go to the cafe in Barcelona and you order a cappuccino or a coffee anywhere, and you can do it in Spanish or do it in the local language, like that's a huge win. And so you're building all of these steps of confidence throughout the entire year. And that is like the stories that we hear from our students. I'm picturing them in my mind about them talking about feeling this tangible energy of, yeah, at the beginning, I was so unsure, but before I knew it, I was commuting to my internship. I was asking for more responsibility. I was hanging out with new people that I hadn't met. And it's all because it's incrementally built throughout the entire year.
It's like independence, but on training wheels.
That's what we all need. Yeah.
Truly. And I think that's so great too. Thinking about the infrastructure that we can provide with our program, you have these awesome program advisors. I'd love to do a panel like this with them too, who are based here in Boston as well, but they're supporting you. They're helping you set those goals, like Kyle was mentioning at the beginning of the program. Maybe this is one of your goals. You say, I am insecure around other people and I want to become more confident and I want to become, more comfortable expressing myself in these group settings. That's a very real goal that I promise you our students have set before. This is exactly on the mind of all of our students. And these program advisors work with you, keep you on track throughout the year. And at the end, you get to look back at your progress, see these different ways, all of these big and small moments, like Kyle said, that you've been able to build towards that. So yeah, I love that you get to be pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, but yeah, with those training wheels or with that safety net, I guess, that you have all of this global support to make sure that you're doing well. Great, love that question. Here's a very practical question, and I would love to hear all of you talk about it. How does the process of setting up your gap experience with a consultant work?
Nat, you go ahead and take this one.
So the process is we get on a call and we go through the gap year options. So I'll get to know you a little bit and your interests and like places you wanted to go. And if you've taken a language in high school, like those little things, we'll have that conversation. And then I'll let you know your options from there. So then you'll get to start asking more specifics about the cities and destinations and like combinations. It's usually like a half-hour call or however long you want it to be. But that's usually the first step.
And what I'll say too is everybody's gap looks a little different. I know we said that over and over again tonight, but this is a time to, the first step to like almost digging deeper, as Kyle was saying, is like getting to know you and don't be afraid to ask yourself questions, is we're there to also push you a little bit outside your comfort zone from the step one of here's what you're interested in now. Have you ever thought about these different possibilities?
Great answer. Just sharing best practices. We're trying to share our experience in working with a number of other students who have been to all of these different destinations, thinking about their personalities, what their goals are, how that might relate to you as a student, thinking about your own trajectory towards college, towards your year in general. So we're trying to really balance all of these different questions to put together a plan that's going to be the best fit for you.
Yeah.
And then, oh,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Lauren.
Sometimes with these Zoom meetings, I'm like, I don't know who's talking, and I talk so much. Normally, when we're in the office, people can just see me just going, and they're like, okay, we'll let her take over, I guess. And sometimes with Zoom, there's a little bit of a lag, or I just can't process it fast enough. I don't know. But kind of that overall like steps of what it looks like with a gap consultant is an initial call. Maybe it's just you. If you're a student, maybe it's just a parent looking for their student. Typically, there's another call with the other party involved, whether it's the student or the parent, walking through the application process, good things to put in your application, kind of making sure you're ready for the next steps. And then they'll walk you through how to set up an interview and really get a good solid plan for you to kind of make this gap dream more of a reality.
Yeah, and I think too, sometimes the idea of talking to a gap consultant can sound scary. So that's one of our goals with a session like this, is to show you all that we're real people. We're here. We all have our own stories and our own reasons why we're so passionate about this. And we just want to help you figure out what's the right path for you. And we also have a whole team of resources at EF. These consultants are incredible and they're going to be your main touch point. But if you're talking to Lauren and you say, I really want to learn really some specifics about the internship module, Lauren can connect you with the person in our team in Zurich who actually manages that. If you want to hear more about the college and the deferral process, that's when people get sent to me, and I love chatting with students and with parents about all of that. So we just have a whole network of people that can really flesh it out, bring it to life a little bit. Unlike on a college campus, you can't come visit us, but we have this whole network of people who can really bring it to life. Alumni as well, we can connect you to, just really hearing the stories from a lot of different perspectives. So there's a whole team of us here rooting for you and helping you make that happen. Cool. Any other questions people want to throw in the box there?
I thought of a question too, this is super practical, but sometimes the best way to figure out how to even connect with your GAP consultant in the first place is make sure you're checking your texts and your emails. Because usually we're like, hey, just wanted to meet you, let's chat. And sometimes emails go to spam or you forget to answer the text. So definitely just keep an eye out for those. They'll also have really good information like scholarships as well as different opportunities. So I know this is something that we launched this week, but if you want to bring a friend abroad, you're actually eligible for a discount on your programs. So a lot of that stuff will live in your email initially, and then we'll try and contact you over phone or text. But just keep an eye out for that, because we're just trying to communicate what's new and get to know you better.
Always a good reminder. It's always hard trying to balance all of those college applications, gap year, all that stuff coming in your inbox, but we're always here by email, text, whatever. I have a question for you guys. If anyone wants to tackle this, what itinerary would you recommend your high school self to do if you could go back in time and say, 18-year-old you?
Probably the most fun question that we think about every day, which
Think about it
changes
all the time.
I swear it changes every
But today,
day.
what's your answer? Yeah.
I know mine. All right.
All right, Kyle.
My high school self would be Malaga for Spanish. It would be Dominican Republic for service, and it would be Sydney for internship as well. The reason being, I always had an interest in Spanish and working more on that and having tangible application of it. One of the cool things that I've learned more about the Dominican Republic is at first, I think that if you've been there on vacation or there's like that aspect to the country, whereas our service programs are so immersive and in parts of the country that you probably would never visit otherwise. And it's these amazing local communities. And there's actually a lot of diversity in the landscape there, and different regional communities, how people live, interact, work. That country has a lot of really cool things to be able to explore. And then Sydney, fantastic. Tons of outdoor opportunities, which I love as much of that as I can get. So that's an easy choice for me.
And you'd get to use that Australian accent.
Oh,
yeah, it sounded like I'd fit in there.
Oh my goodness. I would do language in Rome, service in Thailand, and internship in Sydney as well. And I think for high school I did Italian for 4 years. So I would love to go to Rome and study.
I think I'd
and
also
eat
want
too, right? Not
and eat. Oh my goodness, more importantly, eat.
I was about to say, I would also want to do Italian in Rome, a lot less for the language, but a lot more for the food.
You just want to go on a food tour.
I do. I've decided that I want to go on like a pierogi tour of Poland. Totally not related to taking a gap, but that's really what I've been pondering late at night. But I'm a total foodie, and what I like about Italy is I was like pasta, pizza, gelato. I was pretty picky, but I was like, all of those fit into a bucket of things I would eat. I also think they have a super rich history as well. Is that something I learned about, at least in high school? I had a terrible Spanish experience. I also wasn't the best Spanish student. I was like, I just don't get it. I'm not going to try super hard. But I think maybe I'd tie doing Italian in Rome to maybe service in Costa Rica. I think it's hard because I want to say then and now, but I love Costa Rica now. I'm like, I can't pretend like I didn't know about it before. And then I think doing an internship in Dublin is similar to the food scene, as it's meat and potatoes, also things I'd happily eat every day. But that way, seeing kind of different corners of the globe a little bit is Europe, to Latin America, back to Europe. I think now, though, I'd switch it up and do an internship in Tokyo, just because I think that's my next passion, besides pierogies, is seeing more of like an Asian destination. And I get so excited for students who actually are like, here's what I want to do is I want to learn Korean in Seoul, do service in Thailand, and then an internship in Tokyo, because I wish I was that adventurous in high school.
All right, let's go back in time and send you all there.
Rebecca, what's your dream gap itinerary?
Yeah, I think today I would do language in Nice, because high school me had like a little, idea of, French pastries and wearing a beret and sitting on the seaside speaking French on a bench with a new friend, like a very romanticized ideal of that, but would be able to brush up on my
bike
French.
down the beach.
Oh my gosh, yes, you know me. This is exactly what I want. And with a baguette in the basket, very cliche. Yeah,
Sure.
That's what I want. I think I'd do service in Thailand as well. I think I'm a little biased because I did live in Thailand for a while and I just want to go back, but it's an incredible place. And I think our service program really highlights a lot of different parts of the country. You get to eat a lot, you get to do interesting projects with different communities, including elephants. So I think I would do that. And internship, I think I would actually do Tokyo as well, Lauren. Japan is next on my list of places to visit. I've never been there, but Tokyo just seems like an incredible city in so many different ways. And I think I would eat really well in all of these cities as well. I think we should just run a EF Gap Year food themed program.
I think that's a great idea. I think Japan's really cool too because it's super futuristic. I've also never been, so every time I see photos, I'm like, this is not what Boston's public transit looks like, while theirs looks like rocket ships. I'm like, I'm living in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, let's get you to Tokyo, Lauren.
All right, I'm on it.
Perfect. Well, if anyone has any last questions, feel free to throw those in. But now you have seen all of our faces and hopefully feel more comfortable just shooting us a text, shooting us an email, pick up the phone and call us, as retro as that sounds. We are here and ready to chat with all of you and help you now plan for your gap years, especially now that you've heard so much about us. We want to hear about you. So any last parting words from any of you?
I had one on my mind, which is I think a lot of people don't, even folks that we connect with talking about GAP, they don't know a lot about EF as an organization. And hopefully everyone got a taste of EF's, the best part of the organization tonight, which is their people. And I've been fortunate to see that in a number of different offices, countries, people that are coming that are EF people through and through. And I think one of the things that EF has always done is find people that really care about what they're doing and work really hard. And I've worked with a lot of colleagues that, answer emergency phones at 3 a.m. and are up for, literally days straight working through challenging situations that come up and really take, questions seriously too, because they care about what they're doing. They care about our students and travelers too. And we've got, I think, just a lot of awesome support staff that are helping on the behind the scenes, the planning, the organizing, the travel, the actually choosing what our students are doing that, folks may never see that work, but I can promise you that it translates through and that there's been a lot of time and thought put into all of those things. So I just wanted to make sure people know, and that would be a great thing that we can always talk more about too, is what I think EF offers and what that looks like for everybody.
Definitely.
I love that. Perfect parting words. We are here
Awesome.
As a whole community for all of you. So thank you so much. Any more questions, feel free to shoot them our way. We are here for you guys, but thanks for tuning in tonight, and I'll see all of you.
Oh, we got one more question.
We did.
Somebody asked, do we as students get the ability to travel to other countries during our free time? Which I think is an awesome question. And I'm happy to answer it too if.
Run with it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So kind of part of the independence on training wheels aspect that I was talking about earlier is we're going to treat you like adults. So during language study and during your internship, when you have your weekends free, you can most certainly start checking other countries and other cities off your bucket list. You just need to let your GAP advisor know where you're going, where you're staying, best way to contact you. And you'll be working with your program advisor a ton, so they'll just be up to date. But you certainly can make this GAP your own, even a step further, by doing free time travel on the weekends. And if you're not a big planner, a lot of those language schools actually have weekend excursions as an option as well, if that's where you want to start planning these extra daytime activities or weekend activities.
Perfect answer.
Yeah, nothing more to add. Lauren covered it. That's it right there.
But
Totally
it's
an
true,
option.
Yeah, it's totally an option. And I think too, like the balance of independence and pre-planned things for you is really great in every step of the program. So no matter where you fall on the spectrum of like, I want everything planned and I want to do everything myself, like you're going to find something for you. But again, thank you all for these great questions. We're here. Shoot any other questions our way. And I'll see all of you all in the virtual office tomorrow.
Thanks. Fun hanging out, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.